Hello everyone, and this is just a short tutorial on behalf of the New Image Camera Club in order to help some of our members who are having trouble renaming their image files. I'm going to use Windows to rename and also Faststone Image Viewer, but mainly I'm going to work in Windows. It's not a Mac. If you've got a Mac, it'll be a different procedure to this. Now, we need you to rename your images in a certain way for our projection competitions. But to start off with, I'm just going to rename images in general, which is always a good idea anyway, rather than leaving it with the generic code that the camera gives you, because you might have trouble. It helps you when you want to search for an image if you know roughly what you called it. And I'll also cover renaming folders and moving stuff about a little bit, but the main thing is for renaming. Okay, so I thought it would be a good idea just to, before we start on the renaming, I don't know if you might or might not have noticed this with some of your images, but sometimes the name, even the generic names such as this IGP or DSC or whatever, they've got a different what's called an extension file. That extension file is at the back of the name, and in this case it says bluebell.jpg, and that's telling the computer what sort of file it is. Now this one, although it's an image, it's saying .nef. That's because it's a RAW file, and it's Nikon's RAW file, and that's what the extension's called. And the last one, which is from my Pentax camera, says .dng, and that's a digital negative. So although they're all image files, the extension file can be different on them. Okay, so we're just going to jump straight in now and get onto the resizing. So go to wherever your pictures are, usually my pictures, and you'll notice when I open it up that we've got us folders in there, and one of them says rename. Let me just make it a full screen. Now you can rename your folders as in the very same way that you rename your images, but I'll come on to that later. So we'll open this folder, and we can see these images, and they've got the generic name that the camera gave the image. I'll just make these icons a little bit larger so that we can see what we're doing. Now on Windows 7, you'll notice that up on top left hand side there's what's called an organize button. If you click on that, it will put a drop down menu on, and on that drop down menu you've got something that says rename, but if you notice it's greyed out, so you wouldn't be able to use it. And the reason why it's greyed out, just click away from it, close down, is that you've not selected anything to be renamed, so you've got to select it first. So if you just click anywhere inside the image, you'll see that it's turned blue, all the borders turned blue, and that means that it's been selected. So now if you came to organize, you could see that rename, you could use it. But I'm not going to rename it from this tab today because not everybody's on Windows 7. Some of the other Windows are very similar, but there is a method that works in all Windows, whether it's Vista 8, Windows 7, 8, 10, whatever, and that is the image that or the file or anything that you want to change the name of. If you right click on it, it will automatically get selected. So if you right click on it, you'll see it's gone blue, and you'll also see it brings this big drop down menu. Now this menu can be slightly different depending on what you're trying to open or rename. If this was a document file, it might be slightly different to this. And if you come right to the bottom of this list, you'll see it does say rename. Now you need to be careful because just above it says delete, and it's quite easy to I'll just click on it, click on delete. But the one thing about clicking delete by mistake is it does ask you if you really do want to delete it. Obviously we're going to say no. Again, if you made two mistakes and click yes, you can still get it back out of the recycle bin. But no, we don't want to change it. to delete it. So back to this big picture of the bird. If we right click again on it, and this time we're going to come down to rename, and we just click rename. Now if you notice, what's happened is the original name is now blue, completely blued out. It's got blue colour surrounding it, but the extension is still black and black and white sort of thing. Now the original name, because it's blued, what that means when it's got that blue band on it is you can just type over it. So if I were to type bird, B-R-D, you can either press enter or just click away from the image, click into one of this white spot part of the screen, and it's renamed it now. You can see bird.jpg. Now if this were a series of images and you wanted to change all of the names, I'll just drop these icons a little bit smaller. Then what you need to do is you click on the first image which has selected it. Say we took all these on as holidays and we wanted to change it all to holidays 2016 because there were a sequence of shots that were similar. And then you press the shift key and hold down the shift key. Now this is the shift key, it's usually just above your control key and it's an upwards arrow. Press that shift key and hold it down, and then when you click on the last image, you'll notice that they've all been selected. They've all got blue around them. So now whatever you do to one will affect them all. So if we right click on any, but I usually do it on the first one, right click on it, come down and say rename, and you'll say we'll say holidays. You'll see that the first one that I clicked on's gone blue, so we'll put Halls 2016, and then we can press enter or click away, and you'll notice it's changed all the names to Halls 2016, but it's put a bracket saying 1, 2, 3 and so on. That's because you can't have the same name file in the same folder. If the name files were the same, it assumes that the file is the same and you want to overtype it or it's a duplicate, so it will ask you then if you really want to give it that name. But because the computer's done it itself, it's put everything in brackets. Okay, so let's imagine that this is there's a couple of hundred images here, and you just want to name 2 or 3 of them the same. You don't want they're not in sequence, in other words. So in this instance, what you do, you click on the first image that you want. So that's, we'll say it's this bird. Now if you want the next image, these flowers, then instead of pressing shift and holding it down, you press control. And likewise if you wanted the last image, and the control key is this bottom left hand key, it says it on it usually, and so you press that and hold it down, and then you can select the images in a random order. After you've selected them, again just right click on it and that will name all the ones. You can rename and it would rename all the ones you've selected. And likewise, if you wanted to move these to another folder, for instance those 3 images, instead of clicking rename you could click cut. Or you notice if you click cut, it grays them all out because they're the 3 images that you've selected. So let's say that we wanted to put that into a different folder. We can go back into my pictures and we'll just put it into the pictures library. You would then right click and paste. So you can see right click does a lot of these moves and renaming that you want to do. If you go into that rename folder, you'll notice those images have gone now. They've been moved just into the picture library. And likewise, you can put them back. I could just click on that, press the shift key, you've got all three, right click on any one, cut, they've gone greyed out. Now open the folder we want them to go into, right click again, you'll notice it's all right click and paste, and it's moved them back into that folder. So it's quite easy to move the folders about. And likewise, if you wanted to rename that folder, you just right click on it and rename it in the same way. You'll notice there's no extension file on that folder, so it's just grayed out the name. Now, one of the things that the problems that some of our members have had is when they've been trying to rename something. We'll open this folder again. We'll try and rename this bird again. Let me just make it a bit bigger again. And what they've done, they've gone to rename, then they've clicked in the box and they've deleted everything, and they've put bird, and then they've entered. Now when you do that, you'll notice that you get this warning, and it's saying if you change a file name extension, the file may become unusable. Well, you don't want the file to become unusable, so you need to say no. And the reason it brought it up was because they've deleted that extension, and that extension shows the computer what sort of file it is. Now, I don't usually have that extension showing on my my laptop, and right at the end of this tutorial I'll show you how you can have it so that extension doesn't show, but it's a little bit more in depth than this, so you don't need to do it. It's just something that I've done and a lot of people do. So that's the mistake they made. They deleted everything, and as I said earlier, you just need to rename and just overtype what's blue. Don't delete that extension file, otherwise that's the warning sign that you'll get. And this is the warning sign. So just bear that in mind when you're changing the file names. Okay, so that's it. I think we've covered the renaming of the files, and you can rename your files to whatever you want, dogs, holidays, whatever. But when you're sending them in for one of our projected competitions, they need to be named in a certain way, and this information is on our website on the competitions page, but this is how you need to do it. You need, if your picture's called Winter Wonderland, then that needs to be in capitals, and then you need a space, and then you need to go to lowercase. The name can be a mixture, but I think it's easier to remember. Make sure the title's in capitals and everything else is lower. So we'll jump in and actually do one as an example. But as I say, all this information is on our website. So we'll come to rename folder, and this one is the Spa in Scarborough. So let's say I want to rename that. We'll right click, rename. It's blued out this title that's on it, and so we'll go to capitals, and I'll put Spa space lowercase Spa by Mick Carver, and that's it. It's as simple as that. Just make sure your title's in capitals and the rest is in lower. Obviously it needs resizing, and this is the wrong size for our DPI projector. But you can, if you're not sure on resizing, there's another video on our competitions page showing you how to resize. Now, I did mention at the beginning of this tutorial that our I'm going to show you how to do this same thing in Fastone. I know a lot of our members use the free Fastone viewer, which is also a good editorial program. So I'll jump straight into Fastone. Now, it's exact same actually as Windows. You just need to select when you select this image, it's got a smaller blue border around it, but you just need to right click on it again and it brings a similar menu up. You can create a new folder or you can delete and everything else, and it says there rename, or you could just hit F2 and that will rename it. So we'll click rename. Now what I like about Fastone is it shows you the original name, and then underneath it says rename to. Again, it's blued out so you could do it. So I'm going to do it in the format it would be for our competitions. I'm going to capital bird space lowercase now you notice it says show extension, so if you clicked on it, it would show that it's a JPEG, but you don't have to worry about the extension because you type it into a new box and it shows you the old name and it shows you the new name, and you don't have to bother about that extension. So you just click OK and it's done it. And that's quite good, I think, in Fastone, in that it does bring a separate box up. I'll do it on these flowers. Rename, and it brings that new box up. So it's just the same as Windows really, but I know a lot of people are using Fastone as their viewer as well as a quick editor. Well, that more or less concludes the renaming video. I did mention earlier that I was going to show you how to hide the extensions from Windows, and then it doesn't matter if you happen to overtype the extension. Now this is not important. If you're a bit worried about doing it, then don't do it, but if you wanted to, this is how you do it. Well, again, there's several ways of doing it, as always in Windows, but what you need to do is go to the control panel, which is in your start menu usually. So click on the control panel. When you see all your control panel items, go to folder options, and then you go to view, and then you need to scroll down when it brings the view, and you'll see something that says hide extensions for known file types. That means if Windows does know that it's a JPEG, it will hide it anyway because it already knows what it is. And you need to tick that box. At the moment on mine it's unticked, that's why we could see all those JPEGs. Okay, so what I'm going to do it anyway. I'll show you a separate way of doing it. That's the way of doing it through the control panel. But another way of doing it, if you're in Windows 7, is go to Organize, Folders somewhere, Folder and Search Options. So this is the folder tab again. So we've got View, and then you need to scroll down, and it says Hide Extensions for Known File Types. So I'm going to tick it, and I'm going to press OK. Now when we open the rename folder, you'll see this, it doesn't say JPEG on anything or on any of these files that I've got. It just a name, there's no JPEG, because Windows knows what a JPEG is. And I do that because it tends to make my files easier to look at. Now if I wanted to rename these butterflies now, and I said rename, I can just type across it all. But even if I did happen to delete everything and put butterfly, it's not bringing that message up saying that you've removed the extension file, because there's no extension files on it. So I say you don't need to do that, but if you wanted to, That's how you do it. Okay, so that's the end of the tutorial. If there's any problems, see us at the club and we'll try and sort you out.